Oh, really? You cut your hair.
Barbara's well.
Barbara's fine. Barbara's actually getting ready to leave tomorrow to be with Edwin Gaines for the week. So she's got a lot of catch-up she's doing, and she asked me if I'd sit in tonight, so I said I would.
Really?
No,
So we don't have class tomorrow?
no, there's class tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, she's teaching it.
Oh, she is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. No, she'll be here. So we begin with treatment.
All right.
So I invite everybody to center yourselves. Centering to me just means letting go of whatever is on your mind. Bringing your mind up to be right here, right now. And with a big deep breath and releasing it. We simply know the truth of our being. That there is something wonderful, something amazing, something perhaps beyond our full understanding, yet it's there, in the midst. It is the midst. It is all that is real. It is the presence of what we call God, the divine, perfection, law, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It is that is perfect, whole, and complete. It is timeless. It has no beginning and no ending. It is the creator of time and space and darkness and light. It is the creator of all form, all function, all life. And it's right here. It is who and what we are. Not in our bodies, but in our beingness. We are being the presence right now. And in the same way, the cosmos has been created, this universe of celestial bodies. In the same way, all of that exists and moves with such intention. The same is true for us. We move with great intention. We move with clarity to know what is ours to do and what is not. And we focus upon what is ours to do. And in this moment, ours is to come together and discuss these matters of spiritual existence and to deeply step into that consciousness of creation, of formation, of life itself. And from that conscious place, we grow more and more clear of who we are and what we're doing. So we bless this time together. We know that it is good and that it is valuable and that it offers us the opportunity to see our lives more clearly. And with that knowing, life gets better. We let that be exactly what happens right here and right now. We do it gratefully, we do it intentionally, we do it lovingly. And we let it happen by saying together,
And
so it is. Yes, it is. Yay.
Is that what you want to like?
Sure, how do you do that? Wonderful. All right, hello. Well, thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you for being flexible enough to not walk out when you see that I'm going to be up front here. So as I was saying, Barbara has plans to be out of town for several days, so I'm stepping in with y'all tonight, and this is a great delight to be here. The thing that made this so easy was the conversation tonight is spiritual mind treatment.
Oh boy. Yeah, you wrote the book.
I wrote a book. How many of you are on a regular regimen of daily doing spiritual mind treatment? Okay, a few of you. That's great. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. That means that there's some of you that aren't. How many don't really know what a spiritual mind treatment is? Yay! I got fresh folks to talk to tonight. So those of you that do treatment regularly, I'll make this as succinct and concise as I can so that we can get on to have fun with it. The idea of spiritual mind treatment is it's an affirmative prayer. It's a specific formula for doing a kind of prayer that has been found to be very effective. It's not that complicated. The formula's on the board. We're going to go through it step by step pretty quickly so that you can see how to do this. Now, I remember when I first stepped into a Science of Mind class and this idea of a 5-step treatment was presented to me, and I thought, man, I have to learn steps. I don't want to learn steps. I just want to do it. Well, I have found out since that it's really worth learning how to do this. And that most things that we do well have some level of expertise attached to them. If we get better at it by doing it. And that's the case with spiritual mind treatment. So we're going to learn how to do that tonight. Welcome, guys. Come on in. We're going to learn how to do that tonight. And so the information that you need is pretty much already written on the board. But we're going to go through it step by step so that you get how this works and why it's the way it is. But let's start with this idea of treatment. Why do you think we do treatment? Who's got an idea of why we do spiritual mind treatment? Or why do we pray, you know? Any thoughts on that? Yes. What is your name?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Well, treatments to create energy or give blessings, which is energy, to others, and it ends up healing us by doing giving, receiving.
Okay, all right, that's
I
lovely.
mean, that's just a guess.
No, that's fine, that's fine. See, nobody's wrong here. I'm just curious about what your thoughts might be on why we would pray. Yes. Emily.
Another guess, to remind myself of the truth.
Wow, that's good. That's a really good one. You kind of nailed it right there. Most people in the world think that treatment, or that prayer is about fixing things, or about asking a deity outside of ourselves to bless us with some change in our lives because there's something we don't like. But that's not really what treatment is about. Holmes said that treatment, that we do have the ability to change the conditions of our lives, but where it doesn't work is if you go, oh, this thing is happening in my life and I don't like it. I think I'll treat it and have it go away. That's not it. That's not the work. What we call that, what that's come to be known as in our movement, is spiritual bypass. It's the idea that something's wrong and if we can treat it away. Or something that we want hasn't happened yet and we can treat it into existence. That's manipulative. Now let me explain why, and not that can't be done. I'm not suggesting it can't be done, it's just that that's not a very mature way of doing this. How many of y'all saw the movie What the Bleep? Do you remember the scene in What the Bleep where there were all these bouncing balls? The point was, those were different realities. And the way it was explained in that movie is they're all happening simultaneously. Which one do you want? And that's the way that movie suggested, and it is a metaphysical concept, that you're actually choosing a reality. So when you do treatment, what you're doing is choosing a reality. You do it all the time anyway. It's not like you have to close your eyes and bow your head and suddenly move into a state to create your reality. You're doing it with every thought you have. It's happening all the time. The thing is that most people on the planet are worrying, or are concerned, or somehow aren't convinced that they're going to get what they want. So they have those reoccurring, repetitive thoughts about how something's not going to work out. And sure enough, you stay with those thoughts long enough, even in the back of your mind, not really even focusing a lot on them, but you know, that's what happened to my parents, or you know, there's a problem here. You start thinking that way, and sure enough, you're calling that into your life. That's what you're going to get. So the idea of treatment is to start disciplining your thought to make the choice in the treatment for what it is that you're choosing to be your reality. You're not really creating it, you're just choosing it. The reality is already available. It says, what do you want to pull into your conscious experience? And when you discipline yourself to have your life turn out a certain way, and you stay with that regimen of thinking, you tend to get what you'd like to get. And what a much nicer way to live your life. And, you know, life happens. And, you know, there are things that cause us to get distracted or confused, or something happens. And suddenly we think, oh, that's not working. But it is working, it's working perfectly. It's just that there are, this whole thing of reality is so fluid, it's so flexible and pliable and malleable that it just sort of moves with your thoughts. So we use spiritual mind treatment as a way to set our intention and to visualize or verbalize or feel the way we want our lives to be. And what that does is it highly improves the likelihood that that's what we're going to experience back. So we just do this as a discipline, It's not about fixing, because truly nothing's broken. None of us are broken, none of us are flawed. We all have things that we like about who we are, and we all have things we don't like about who we are. We all have things we like about our partners and our bosses and our friends and our family, and we have things we don't like about all those people. That's just the nature of life, is that we have preferences. Doesn't make anybody wrong. Everyone is free to choose whatever they want. But we choose, as being students of the science of mind, our path more clearly. So, again, we're not trying to fix anything here. We're simply using this tool of thinking to create an outcome that we like. Does that make sense? Great. Let's talk about the formula. First step, 5 steps. You see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to talk more about what 3 is and why it has these subsets. Recognition. What are we recognizing?
There's one universal power.
Yes, we're recognizing the unity of all life, all form, all that is. God. Most people, though, when they think of God, think of an entity. So that doesn't work for everybody. But we want to begin the thought process with that idea that there's something, as Holmes said, greater than we are. Frankly, it's what we are. But it's not at the point of us that we somehow, from our being, force life to happen. That's not how it works. The fact is that life is very, life and this idea of mind is very well designed for us to use it once we know it's there. You come into a dark room and you'll feel around the walls. You know, we've created a system where we put the light switch right over next to the door. But if you didn't know that, or if the light switch was somewhere else, you would just wander around the dark looking for it. But you know where it is. You know it's right there. If you came in on the door and turned right and started this way across the room looking for a light switch, you'd be looking a long time before you got to a light switch, right? But you know where it is, right? It's there on the other side. So you reach over and you flip it. That's sort of like controlling your thinking and saying, I'm going to have this thought instead of that thought that has me wandering in the dark. I'm going to have this thought, and this thought is going to turn on the lights for me. So you know that and you use it. So the idea is that, at least for me, is I begin every treatment by recognizing the presence of the divine. That's what I like to call it. I like to call it divine presence. That really works for me. It doesn't point to a person or an entity. It seems to be, some people use the word spirit. That's a good word too, but spirit has other connotations. So I like divine presence. And I say that it's everywhere and always. And that everything is contained in it. Even though it's not a physical form, it is that which contains all that exists. And that for me gives me a basis for moving forward. There's something amazing, far beyond my ability to comprehend from a physical understanding of life, but there's something that is so powerful and so present. And by knowing it and claiming it and being aware of it, it gives me a great starting point for my work. I don't speak to God, but God hears everything that I say. How can that be? Well, because I'm always there listening. And if the divine presence is at the point of me, then when I hear what I say, God heard it. When you hear what I say, God heard it. It's like it doesn't have to be something outside of myself that I pray to. Is God outside of me? Absolutely. If we're going to play the time-space continuum, of course God's outside of me, because you're there. I have this body and I relate to it. You have bodies, you relate to your bodies as the central focus point of your experience. So is God beyond your body? Of course. It's everywhere. It's always. So speaking to it doesn't really work for me. I'm not looking for a divine relationship with God. It's already there. Everything's already there. So my work is to know who I am. And the place to begin that conversation or begin that understanding is to understand that there's this presence. And if I understand that at whatever level I can and I keep expanding on that, I'm going to have some place to work from. So that's my starting point. That's step number one. That's what I'm recognizing. I'm recognizing that there is something creative, something powerful, something so immense that I can't fully embrace it and encompass it in my thinking, but I know it's there. I always know it's there. It can't not be there. It has to be there. So it is. And that's recognition. That's what I want to recognize. Yes, Jane?
So, therefore, you don't talk to it or anything like that, it's a recognition.
Exactly. That's why you use that word. Nobody walks up to you and goes, Jane, I recognize you. No, that's not how it works. When I see you in the room across the room, I recognize you.
So,
That's the thing that I'm doing. I'm recognizing the presence.
so you're not saying to the divine presence, I'd like a new car. So
No, thank you. You never do that. You never, because who's going to answer?
the divine presence, hopefully.
Well, but I'm not looking at, there's no, we have this thing called relationship between human beings, and that's because I'm thinking something here and you're thinking something there, and we have a conversation, we communicate, and we share that information. But divine presence doesn't require that. Every thought that I have is God's thought, so there's nothing outside of me that I need to communicate with, because it's already there. It is my thoughts. So, yes.
Yeah, but if I'm God and you're talking to me, then obviously you're talking to God out here.
I am, but I'm talking about when I'm doing my treatment work. You and I communicate, yes, and that is a communication from God, through God, to God. Great. But you're not my God.
So basically, you're talking to yourself.
You're the presence of the divine as much as I am.
You're a rock.
But I don't yield to you to be in any way my deity.
You're a rock God. You sure?
Yeah, I'm very sure.
Since he left.
Yeah, I know, it's tough, isn't it?
I would yield to you as my deity.
And you should work on that. All right, so this idea of recognition does not require communication. It simply requires that you recognize that there is this presence. And that's a very powerful thing to do. And you're never done with that process. You never get there. It's never like, oh, I've got that figured out. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. People spend their lifetimes in monasteries and abbeys and places like that all over the planet, silently trying to recognize the presence more deeply. And they do great at it, but it does not require isolation to do. You can do it right here, right now, to some degree. And then tomorrow, you can do it more. So it's a never-ending process. Yes, Anne-Lee?
I was kind of thinking in terms of, I think it is a mental and emotional exercise to bring yourself back into the present moment. There are moments that we've all had it, where it seems so easy to feel God's presence, to feel the connection of, it's in the breeze, it's in the trees, it's in every moment that's happening at that moment. It's this, we're intuitively and extremely sensitively aware of God's presence in certain moments. It's really powerful, and it's easy, and it comes like, oh, if I could just feel like this all the time. And to me, that recognition step is, if you're not in that mindset at that moment, this is a way of being able to call that back to your own presence. It's really just a reminder to yourself that God is within and without, constantly, and bringing that emotional connection back to you. No?
Well, absolutely. However you want to design that for you will work for you. But the important thing is, don't get too comfortable with it. Keep stretching. Keep finding new ways to be aware of the presence of the divine. A lot of people, kind of go into this thing of finding God in the trees and, you know,
Pleasant
the elements.
moments of life.
And they're lovely, it's lovely, it's wonderful to do that. And what those thoughts are, they're pantheistic thoughts. And pantheism is fine. Pantheism means that everything is God. And we can take it a little further to that panentheism statement of everything is in God. So God's bigger than everything. And no, you play with that for a while. Don't let it overwhelm you, but it's something that you can actually do, that God is bigger than anything you can imagine. God is more, and not size-wise, just in its very nature. You know? So however you want to play that game is fine. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just the idea of recognize the presence. And the only thing I advise you is don't fall into the trap of saying the same words or thinking the same thought every time you do it. Find something new that stretches you a little bit. It keeps it really in the present when you can see it somehow, and maybe you didn't see it before. Yeah, good for you, yes.
So you said pantheistic,
And panentheist. Panentheism, yes.
It stretched me to realize God's in that that's, you know, in the road,
Yeah, that too,
the stripes.
right.
Or that sign. Because like you say, it's easy to look outside, see beauty and da-da-da-da-da. That, so I kind of go there sometimes and start blessing. Oh, I'm so glad there's that people who keeps me safe or whatever. You know.
And that's lovely. And it's true that one way to demonstrate your presence is intelligence. And everything has intelligence because there are atomic particles that know what they are and do what they're intended to do with such precision that things like road bond and asphalt are part of that intelligence of the universe. So yes, and Holmes also said that God creates all things but is not absorbed by its creation, meaning that we don't take it to the point where anything that's created can be worshipped as God, because God is the container of all that is. That's the true nature of the divine. So play with those ideas. That's recognition. Step 2, identification. What would that be? What do you want to identify? Yes.
Yourself.
Yourself.
You want to identify yourself as the energy of divine presence.
Ah, okay. All right. So that's step 2. Why do you think it's step 2? Anybody else? Why don't we just start there?
I couldn't hear what she said.
Okay, thank you. So, man,
Oh, please.
what we're identifying is we're identifying ourselves as that divine presence. And my question is, if we're identifying ourselves as that divine presence, why do we need step 1? Why not just start at step 2? Rick?
Once you get the sense of that, that recognition, pretty much as I understand it, is like practicing presence. And once you get a sense of that, then you go to step 2, which is I am that.
Yes, very nice. Well said. And if you start at step 2 and walk around saying, I am God, they will lock you up. They'll put you away because you're crazy. But if you believe that everything exists in that presence, then you have to be that presence because there's nothing else to be. Now, we're not talking about your body being that presence. We're talking about your beingness being that presence. It's the mind of God is your mind. And I'm not talking about your brain, I'm talking about your mind, about your ability to think and contrast and critique and to see and to differentiate and all those things. Those are things that we do as the divine presence. And it's a wonderful thing because we live in this three-dimensional world, we really should be able to enjoy it. You know, picked up a body, here we are, let's have a good time. Yay! And most people don't think that they're God. Most people are still with the idea that God is the creator somewhere else, and we are created here, boom, and we are somehow servants or subservient to that divine presence, and we're not. We are that divine presence. Most of us don't know it, but we are. Yes?
most major religions have a tenet that God is omnipresent, present in everything. If you accept that, then the only way you could be separate from God would be mistaken thinking. You would think you're separate from God, but in reality you're not, because God is omnipresent. Therefore, identifying with, in step 2, makes great sense.
It does, it's logical, but in most
Oh, yeah,
religions,
it does.
they believe in the omnipresence of God, like God is watching you.
Exactly.
And they miss it. They miss the whole idea
They
of,
crucified Jesus for saying, I and the Father are one.
right, exactly, modeling for us how to understand that, exactly. And, 2,000 years and most people are still struggling with this. So, maybe we've really figured something out here. Maybe if that divine presence, that creative force, that only thing in the universe that is real beyond the effects of life is this presence, we must be that presence. Now, the idea isn't that, it's not that we individually are omnipresent, we are, but we don't focus that way. We focus at the point of where we are, in our thinking, in our action and such, we have that. But out of that, we have created our universe, our circle of influence. Our home, our vehicle, our relationships, our health and our bodies. Those things are completely our creation out of our thinking. In the same way that the universe is created out of the holistic thinking of the divine. Who knows, maybe there are unlimited numbers of universes, I don't know. But I know there's one here because science has been able to establish that we live in a thing called the universe. Okay, so the way that exists is the way my life exists. It's a microcosm, macrocosm relationship. It's the same thing. But the essence of how it works is not different at all. It's exactly the same. So it's important to start with that idea of what is this thing? And Holmes called it the thing itself. What is that? And what am I in the midst of that? I am that. At the point of me, I am all of that. And Holmes' teacher, Thomas Troward, said that wherever the infinite exists, it must exist in its totality. It must exist completely everywhere. So the time-space concept really doesn't work with the mind of God. The mind of God is present wholly everywhere. Wow. Sit with that one for a while. So that's what we're dealing with here. We're really shifting our thinking here. So the idea of doing treatment really is about shifting our thinking into that greater understanding of the presence at the point of us. Once we do that, now, as we speak with the authority of the divine. It's different. It's not just, oh, I want this. No. This is what I know. Ooh, very different. Yes.
That identification step, Scripture says that whatsoever you do to the least of my brethren, so you do unto me. And that's a statement that the Spirit is within all, that whether people are aware of it or not. So, that's a statement right there of identification for humanity, if you will.
Absolutely. It's pretty cool, isn't it? That's the work we're doing. That's the essence of it. Now, I mentioned monasteries and people that do that kind of work. They spend their lifetime doing steps 1 and 2. And they do their tasks. They milk the cows, or they sweep the floor, or they do what they do. The rest of the time, they're working on those 2 steps, period, in the story. That's their life. And they do it because it's a beautiful journey. And you can do it too, right now, anytime you choose. And the more you do it, the more real it gets for you, without exception. That's the work. And there was one more step that Holmes added to those 2, and that was the step of realization. To realize what? What do we realize? Yes, Darcy?
What it is that you'd like to draw into your life?
Yes,
or-
exactly.
I think of it as an affirmation of realizing an affirmation.
Well, some people call that step affirmation. I call it realization because sometimes words like declaration and affirmation have an effortness to them. It's like you have to affirm or declare. It's a thing. But when you just realize it, I just realized all the blessings in my life. I didn't make the blessings, I just realized them. It's like inside work. I realized this was the truth about me. It's like so easy. Now, there's nothing wrong with affirmation or declaration or any of the other words you can use for that step. What do you want to say, Dorsey?
I was just gonna say, it's just like recognizing the thought or identifying with something that you really want. And once you speak the word, that's the realization right there. It's the spoken word or the thought.
And we have our own way of doing that. Some of us are very visual. When I treat, I see things. I close my eyes and I can get images of scenarios or situations, or I can scan somebody's body. I can do all this great stuff just by seeing it with my eyes closed. But some people, that's not how they function. They want the words, the auditory part of it really is what they connect to, and those words have great power for them, and that's wonderful. And then other people are more kinesthetic and they feel it, and their feelings about it are what's important. So we all have our own way. All of us do all of that, but some of us have a stronger preference for one or the other. Nothing's wrong. Any of it works. It's all part of the way.
I think
Judith is slowing her phone down.
I think it's simpler than a lot of people make it though, because it doesn't require a lot of work other than to know where it is that you want to go.
Right. But there is a bit of a formula for that realization step that we go through that kind of explains how you can refine that. Most people that are thinking about something that's going to happen in the future, they future tense it. They talk about how it's going to happen, or I'm going to have this, or we're getting to that place, or I'm on my way. And that's sort of the way, in communication and conversation, that's the way we do it. But in spiritual mind treatment, actually I've already jumped to the second one, but let me go ahead and do that. We always talk about it as though it's already there. It's like when I close my eyes and see it, I'm not seeing it in the future, I'm seeing it right now. Because that's where mind functions. Mind, not that we don't think about the past or think about the future, but the place where things happen are now. So let's think of it in terms of now. Now, it gets weird when you take that kind of languaging into a conversation. And, whatever it is, you start talking about having a new car. I have a new car, and someone goes, well, where is it? It's in mine. And it gets weird. But in your treatment, it really helps to do that. It helps to be able to know that that car that gets me safely everywhere I want to go is mine. The title's in my name, and you say it, and you think it, and you see it like it's right now. That's a powerful way to do it. And that is a way of kind of structuring your thinking so that you're not looking for it to maybe happen or maybe not. It takes the question out of it. You're telling yourself it's so right now. And that's why we end the treatment with, and so it is. Because it is. It's not gonna be, it is. So we say that in the present. The idea of personal is, and what we're talking about tonight is not doing spiritual mind treatment for other people. We're talking about doing it for ourselves. So when we treat, we talk about me, I, and knowing that that is the truth for me right now. That's the idea of it. And when we treat, we don't treat other people into our treatment. We treat ourselves. So this isn't about creating, so many people want their children to act differently. And they think they can treat their children into it. Now, can you have some influence on your children that way? Yeah, probably. I don't think that's very healthy. So what I'm suggesting, if a relationship, an issue of relationship is something you're treating, treat yourself. Treat knowing that you know what to do, that you know what to say, that you know how to respond to circumstances with that relative, that child, or that partner, or that parent, or whoever. You know how to do it. You're not trying to treat them, you're treating yourself. You see the difference? It's really healthier to do it that way. You start trying to get somebody else to be different through a treatment, and what you're doing is conjuring and manipulating. And that's not what you want, because that will backfire on you. That will get weird. But you do want, certainly, to know that you know what to do, and that you are clear, and that you are the presence of the divine. Even in this crisis, this situation, you know who you are. That's the work. That's why it's personal. Question? Yes.
So say I'm really new, so if this is a bad question.
Oh, I
sorry.
bet you've been around this
If a
planet.
pra-
for a
It's a
while.
horrible question, Bill.
If a practitioner is saying it for you, you know how you let the practitioner speak at
Yes.
the end, what's that difference? Because they're doing it.
That, you are in a relationship with that practitioner, you have an agreement that they are going to treat you.
Okay,
And that's a healthy thing, that's a good thing, because they've been trained how to do it,
okay.
right? And not that you can't treat for other people, but this is my personal ethic, I would never treat somebody that hadn't asked. But if someone asks me for prayer support, for treatment, then I feel I have an ethical obligation to support them and know the best for them. But I will not get involved in somebody else's drama. And I've had people call me and say, so-and-so look like they're dying, please treat that they live. No, I'm not getting in their way. That's not my job. We have some people who call here and say, I want you to treat that I make my transition. No, I'm not getting involved in that. You want to leave, leave, but don't ask me to support you in that. You know, your game, not mine. So there are boundaries there that really work for me. As people call, my son's in trouble. Will you please treat that he doesn't go to jail? No, jail may be the best thing for that person. Why would I get in the middle of that? You know. But the thing I treat for most clearly is myself. That's where I want to do the work. And if somebody asks me, I will treat for them as their practitioner. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Let's go. We did personal, we did present, positive. Positive is wonderful in that it's not about politeness. It's not about happy thoughts. It's about moving towards something. In treatment, we don't move away from the problem. We don't treat that that the bankruptcy doesn't happen. That just doesn't work. Then the theme of your thought is bankruptcy. No, you treat that your finances are healthy and vibrant and that you're in the flow of spirit. And those are positive thoughts. You don't move away from the thing you don't want. You don't give that any energy at all. Like Ramon said, move away from the condition. Don't talk about the condition. What do you want? Well, I want that thing to go away. Well, if it went away, what would your life be like? I don't know, because it hasn't gone away. Well, you better start thinking about it or you can't get there. So the work is always positive towards something, not away from something. Okay? Make sense? And the last one is precise. This too needs some clarification. It isn't that we treat precisely for a person or a thing. We treat the qualities of the condition that we are calling into our lives. One of the easiest ones, of course, is a car. So you're driving a car that doesn't always start and has mechanical problems and is costing you more to get fixed than it would be to get a new car. So so you treat for that car. You treat knowing that you have what? The red Cadillac down there on that lot? No, don't do that. Who says that red Cadillac is the right car for you? It's the best car for you. You treat the qualities of the car. It starts when I turn the key. Everything in it works. All the buttons and gadgets work. It's reliable. Maybe you have an issue of how much money you spend on gas. So it's economical. It's whatever the things are. And then you open your eyes when you're done and you find your car. And the cars that will show up in your consciousness are the ones that match the qualities you were thinking. Yes, Jane?
Is it possible to affirm, or be unconscious of affirming something, in other words?
Oh, we do it all the time. Sure, we affirm all kinds of things that get us in trouble.
I affirmed for a new car, but I couldn't think of, what I wanted, but all I could think of was the color. So I ran across this car, and it's the perfect color, but it's also got all these other great things that I like. So was I affirming those other things?
I'm sure at some level your consciousness created that car, and that's wonderful. And people do it all the time. The idea of that I'm presenting though is that if you haven't thought about it, I mean, has anyone ever bought a vehicle and wished they hadn't bought that vehicle? Okay, so hands go up. Why would that be? Because you hadn't really put the thought into exactly the kind of thing you wanted. Sometimes we buy a car or do something like that when we have angst because the last car didn't work out or something happened, and we bring that angst into that purchase or that acquisition of that vehicle, and then it comes with some stuff. And perhaps not, it just depends. But the idea is, if you want to use treatment for acquiring a vehicle, as just a very general example, it's really valuable when you do your treatment work to think about the qualities you want in the car. That's okay.
But you can't think of all of them.
Oh, no, of course not. But you can think of the most important ones. They're not really that big a deal. It's like reliability, value, comfort. Yeah, exactly. And if you want to throw color in there, you certainly can, but the better car may be the light blue one instead of the green one. Who knows? Yes?
From a traditional religious outlook, the realization is simply faith. Have faith. And, because faith contains, how it affects you, it's present, positive, it's precise. I mean, people through centuries have had faith and done great works.
Absolutely. And in our particular teaching, we have some teachers that say you wouldn't go in a restaurant and say, bring me a lovely dish from the kitchen. You would pick something off the menu because that's what calls to you at that time. And in life you can do the same thing. You can say, this is what I'd like to have in my life. And focus on it from the qualities, not from the specifics of it. So that's the reason that we do that, is so that we get the thing that matches our thinking. So because we've thought about it. And that's kind of where we are on those 4 Ps. How are we thinking about this thing? So these are just little gizmo gimmicks that can help you kind of refine whatever it is that you're focusing on. Not to fix something, but to move towards something that you're going to experience in your reality. Then we have step 4. Now let me explain the first 3 steps for Holmes. That's the way he taught treatment, right there, 3 steps. It was one of his students that actually came up with the last 2. He was a minister up in Oakland, California, that in his teaching of it, his students, according to the stories I've heard, said, my students really want to have a way to finish this thing off better. And we've come up with something. And they presented it to Holmes, and he said, I like it. Let's do it. So that was how it evolved into a 5-step treatment. And gratitude is a very interesting level of this. It's not, again, the politeness of gratitude. It's not, thank you very much. That's not the point of it. The point of the 4th step of gratitude is that we are only grateful for things we have. Now, for example, the one that I always use. I want a glass of water, and I say, Olivia, would you go get me a glass of water? And she says, I'd be glad to. And I say, thank you. I'm not thanking her for the water. I don't have the water. I'm thanking her for her willingness to get up and go get me a glass of water. That's what I'm grateful for. And she's doing that. Now she brings me the glass of water. What do I say? Thank you, because now I have my glass of water. So I'm always thankful for what I have, not for what I'm going to have. I'm thankful for the blessings of my life and all that I have. I may be thankful for a bright and wonderful future, but that doesn't attach itself to anything. So the idea of gratitude is, I have just recognized the presence of the divine. I have identified myself as that presence, speaking with that authority, and I realize that this is the direction that I am choosing in my life, and I am precise, and I'm positive, and I am present with it, and it's a personal thing for me. And what do? I say, thank you, because I have it. I've already said in present tense that I have it, so now I'm saying thank you. And what it does is it tells your mind that you have it. That's why you're thankful. So in that moment of gratitude, when you're doing your treatment, you're envisioning having it. Thank you, I have it. Make sense?
Yep.
Who raised their hand? Rick.
Yeah, listening to Abraham, he put a little chunk in there that I really found interesting. Was the guy said if you think about a manifestation, you he said the first step is the feeling
Mhm.
of it already in existence.
That's exactly right, and gratitude is all about feeling. You can do, now, you can be in a feeling state with all of this, but to a larger extent, I would think that the first 3 steps, you're thinking about it. You may be having an emotional experience as along with your feeling, that's perfectly natural. But once you get to thank you, you're in your heart, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a feeling, you know, you're right. And so it's like it's the icing on the cake. You bake the cake, there it is. Now put some icing on it and make it just luscious, thank you. It's great, you're absolutely right. And then the final step is the release step. And this is also really important in that we say, we release it, we let it go, meaning that I'm not going to try to do this myself. I am going to do things, but I'm not going to rely on just my thoughts and my actions for this to happen. I'm calling on the entire universe to create this. Because if I have to do it with what I've already experienced in life, then that's the only way it can happen. And that minimizes its happening. Whereas if I let it go and let the universe handle this, and I do my due diligence in the midst of it, it's going to show up by some means. Yeah, I'm likely to be very surprised how it shows up. You know, but there it is. Because I didn't hold it to the constraints of my consciousness. I released it into the consciousness of the divine. All of God. That's what I often say, is I release this to the allness of the divine. And as we learn the science of mind, all of this mind stuff is reflective. As we think it, it's going into the mind of God and reflecting back to us as the physical realities of our lives. So it's a reflective process. So when I let go of it, it's coming back. But it's coming back not as just a thought, but as the reality that I have seen or felt or said in my world, in my work with spiritual mind treatment. There was a question.
Sometimes you need to make a timetable for things, especially if it's like the rent.
Yeah, except that if you do that, if you start setting time constraints in your treatment work, then you're futuring and you're distancing yourself from it. So go ahead and have it now. You know, the rent is paid now. Right now, when my rent is paid. Money showed up and the rent is paid and it's all handled. And feel that and see that and know that. And when you do, you're doing more than saying rent's paid by the 15th. Because can you feel the difference? The rent is paid by the 15th. That's putting it out there. No, own it right where you are. And experience it right where you are. And let that reflective nature of the universe bring it back to you at just the right way, at just the right time. Because you've already... Say again?
So mirroring.
That's exactly what it is. It's a mirroring back of our thoughts. So when we're clear, and you know, I've heard all these, and I'm sure you've heard stories too about, we don't know how this is going to happen. We don't, it's not here now, and oh, worry, and somebody's going, no, it's handled. It's handled. Yeah, but we've got a blah, blah, blah. No, it's handled. And then, by golly, out of nowhere, this mystical, magical thing happens. It could not have been planned, could not have been predicted. Boom, it's handled. How do you do that? Faith. Clear knowing that it's so, and allowing the universe to create that without us trying to micromanage it. Yes, Elizabeth.
And I like, when I do, what I do, I like it because, you know, the Bible says, Jesus says, be as little children, and little children get excited about what they have. And so I think that that's really a key to feel it, and maybe that's not everybody's nature, but, you know, to get into
No,
that.
Jesus was onto something with that. And I think one of the things in that release step, it really is that way, because children don't know where it's coming from. They just know it's coming. They just know it's here. They just, that's it. You know? That's the way kids are, and isn't that lovely? And if we had that level of faith that something is so, we probably wouldn't struggle so much. The reason we struggle so much is because we struggled in the past. when this kind of thing came up before, it was hard. So it's gonna be hard again. It's only hard again because you think it's gonna be hard again.
I think it's a shift in your own personal mind.
Right.
And I think it's a really important step to get that excitement and that beauty.
Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely.
And just know.
Absolutely. And the
Without
more you
question.
can just know, the quicker the universe responds. Because the universe and this whole mirroring effect is not, it's like a mechanism. It's designed to work. It's not designed to decide whether or not it wants to do it. It can only reflect.
Or to struggle and
So
be
when-
intense over it.
When anybody comes to me and says, well, you treated it and it didn't happen. Well, why would that be? Because there's worry going on, there's resistance going on, there's confusion. I have seen situations where the treatment demonstrated, it absolutely demonstrated, the person couldn't see it. One of my favorite examples is someone comes to me and asks me to treat for them to be in a loving, personal relationship with with a person. And that's all they want to be in this loving relationship. Great, and I do the treatment, and they call me 2 days later and say it didn't work. What do you mean it didn't work? Well, my ex called me, we had a big fight on the phone. That was the demonstration, for you to clean up your stuff with your ex so that you wouldn't have all that stuff in your next relationship. You had a chance to clean that up, and what'd you do with it? You played the same old game. Okay, so what you have to do when you do treatment is open your eyes, and I'm not talking about your physical eyes, open your consciousness to that thing showing up. That's the work. That's part of the work. Francis Leahy was one of our practitioners, and he started with us when we were at Fairview in the cornfield. And what he would do is on Sundays he would set up a table, and he would sit on one side, and people would come and sit down the other side. And they would say what they were looking for in their lives, and he would do a treatment with them. And in this one case, somebody came with this sad story about how things weren't working out. And he said, okay, this is what we'll know together. Do you agree? Okay, yes. He did the treatment. The person said thank you, got up from the table, took 3 steps. Somebody said, hey, how you doing? They went right back in the story. Right back in the story. And he said, we need a 6th step. You have to have a step where you live the treatment. Yeah, you do. And he's right. He's right. Treatment's not over when you say and so it is. You know, now you're living in a place where that is true. That's what you have to do. You have to live in that treatment. Yes.
Yeah,
Really.
because that sounds more like casting a spell. You know, when you do the treatment, you go, okay, and so it is, so it's casting a spell, so you can go on.
Yeah.
Still go in the, in the sabotage mode, but you know the spell is gonna work, so it doesn't really matter. I was thinking a little bit earlier how I've spent a whole lifetime, and I think all of us do from the time we were kids, of learning how to prepare ourselves for disappointment.
Yes.
Right? From the time that
Thinking we're helping.
Right. From the time I was a child, I can remember always, whatever it is that I had great excitement for, my mother was there preparing me for, maybe it's not gonna happen. Because she felt, like all parents do, that if that's gonna happen for me, then she's gotta make it happen, and maybe she can't make it happen.
And so, rather than having you hurt, she's just going to let you know now.
Yeah.
You know what else works
So that habit, it sticks with you even as an
Yeah.
adult. So you do the treatment, and it's like, oh, maybe it won't work.
And you know what that's called? Ego.
Yeah.
It's ego telling you, that never happened before. It's probably not going to happen. Just try and take care of you. Just like your mom did. She was doing her very best to take care of you. And that's what our thoughts do to us. Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. Thinking that's helping, but that's getting in the way. So when you do your treatment work, and then you hear that little voice go, probably. No. I know what I treated. I know the truth. I'm living in that truth right now. And don't buy it. And the thing about that falls into the whole area of fear. You're afraid something's going to happen. We all have fear. What are we afraid of? We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of what has not happened yet. We're afraid it's going to go poorly. Well, okay, so you have some fear, but you don't buy into the fear. You don't let the fear be your leader. You go, thank you very much. I get that I haven't done this before, because that's all fear means, is that you're wanting something that has never happened before. You're not afraid of what happens, you know, you're not afraid that, that something's not gonna work, that seems to work every time you do it. You're afraid of the thing that's not going to turn out well. So that's only because you've never had that thing turn out before. So go, okay, I get it, but I'm not gonna play that. I'm gonna know that I create my life. I'm in charge of my life. I'm the captain of my ship. That's what's happening. And when I know that, that's how my life turns out. Yes.
And what do you do about, because this is one of the greatest fears, is fear of success.
Oh, of course.
How do you flip that?
You have to be comfortable with being successful. You have to know that being successful means more work. It means more responsibility, but there's great advantages to it. You know, and I have had those fears, absolutely. I remember when I got elected president of Centers for Spiritual Living, I had some real fear. And you know what? It played out in my life, and it made for things really being hard. So I had to finally accept that I could do this and do it well and be successful at it. I don't want to play those games of all that hardness. Not that there's not hardness anyway, not that there's not challenges, but the way you perceive all that is how it will work out. So yeah, the idea of being afraid of success is one of the human characteristics that keeps us small. Yeah. How are we doing? Any questions, any thoughts?
Well, success would be easy.
Oh, it can be, it can. Although, there's this conversation that I had with Roger Teal, the minister at Mile High, the largest church in our movement. I think they have about 8,000 members. He was saying that we have this thing that we do in our movement where we treat for ease and grace. And some things are easy in life, but if we're always treating for everything to be easy, are we really willing to do what it takes to make it happen? Because sometimes there's some risk to it, and that's a good thing. Risk is not bad. Challenge is not bad. Challenge makes life interesting. If everything was always easy, and many of us think, I just wish everything would be easy. No, you don't. You wish everything would be exciting and meaningful and inspiring. You know, that's the place where life is interesting. And the stories of interesting things in life seldom are about things that were easy. You know, there was a woman helping a man on the street with Mother Teresa one day. And she said, I wouldn't do this for $1 million. And Mother Teresa said, neither would I. Because it wasn't about the $1 million. It was about doing what she had to do. You know, that's just the way life is. You know, the most meaningful experiences in life are not easy. They're worthwhile though. And sometimes things are easy. And isn't that lovely? Yes?
I remember connecting a couple of years ago that my idea, I didn't want to be successful because my idea of successful when I'm watching my parents was you had to work 14, 15-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my only definition, reference point for success, so I said, hell no, I didn't want that shit. You know? So then it distanced myself from really pursuing things that were going to be interesting, that would elevate me, to bring me up to another level, you know? Because I wanted it to be easy. I wanted it to, 3-4 hours a day, and then the rest of the day I could just relax and do my own, you know, kind of thing. But it limited the size of my life. And then when I realized that, no, it doesn't have to be 14 hours a day, but it can be a really good, engaged 7-8 hours a day. You know,
Sure.
it's something that I'm really interested in, and that's fine.
And the measure of success really is, at the end of the day, was that worth doing? Was this day a meaningful day in my life? And if the answer is yes, you're successful. You know, it isn't about dollars. It isn't about bank accounts. It isn't about any of those kinds. It isn't about offices you hold. It's really about what was the quality of my life today. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Jane?
When I was a kid, I was around 10, and I decided I would never hope for anything again. And I thought, that's gonna solve all my problems, because if I never hope for anything, or I never want anything, I'll never be disappointed. And so I got it, it was quite comfortable. I got into this habit of just never never hoping or, and I think it's because my friend, her father died, I think it was, so I thought, nothing's ever nothing good is ever gonna happen. So I carried on like that for quite a while.
You got over that, though, didn't
I did.
you? All right, let's take a break.
I do notice that we're much more disciplined than John.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. Okay, so Barbara asked me to remind you all again that there is no class on the next Monday night. Okay, yes. No, because I will be in Denver, in my office there, and Barbara will be attending Aiden Fogelman, her grandson's entry into Boy Scouts. It's some kind of a big ritual, and she's been invited and she wants to go. So she will be experiencing that next week. Yesterday we had a wonderful experience of watching you run all over the sanctuary, handing out membership cards, applications for membership. How many people are joining the center, or at least are filling out one of these forms coming up? Great. Is there anybody that would like one of these forms that hasn't received one yet? Anybody? Okay, so we're going to do that on the 25th, and apparently there was some concern about the timing. It is April 25th from 1 to 4. We'll be having our wonderful membership class. It's not a normal membership experience. We do a lot of things differently than one might expect. So we're very happy to be doing that.
Okay. I don't get baptized.
No, you get baptized.
No, it's a great class. It's very experiential. We get up and do things.
Hey, they brand a cross in your forehead.
Yeah, but we let those that are present select which one is to be sacrificed.
You have to get baptized again. I'm so glad you said no.
No, we don't. All right. So, are there any lingering thoughts or questions about the process of spiritual mind treatment? Yes.
Can I just make a comment about how important identification has been for me? When I was younger, I had a lot of fears, and those fears became reality and a lot of heartache. And then, as I matured, I began to realize I contributed to that whole process by worrying about it and being fearful. But when I take the time to identify, I realize that perfect love casts out all fear. And God is what we're taught is perfect love. We're in a loving, nurturing universe. So when you really get into that identification and feel it, if you will, those fears just dissolve and your life just starts to work.
That's very, very well said. Absolutely. And I'm a strong believer in the perfection of life. Most people think that perfection is something to pursue, but perfection is already present because the system, the mechanical way that the universe works is perfect. Our lives are the perfect reflection of our consciousness, without exception. So you want a different outcome? Have a different thought. It really comes down to that. And it works every time I've tried it. When I've been conscious about what I was thinking, I could see it working. The times that I wasn't being conscious, I was caught up in my emotions, or somehow had a fear of something, I was getting the perfect reflection of that. I just couldn't see it at that moment, that I was playing a role in it. So, this is invaluable information for living a healthy, meaningful life. It changes everything. And then when we see our relatives or our friends living another way, being in that fear, being in that confusion, being angry, not having the success with their lives, we see how they're doing it. And they're not wrong. They're using that same perfect law, that same perfect mechanism to create their lives that we're using to create our lives. We're just doing it consciously. What a gift. What an amazing gift. And I have found doing this ritual, this spiritual practice of spiritual mind treatment every day changed my life. Just completely changed it. It forced me and force is probably an odd word to use there, but it did. It forced me in my relationship with Barbara to sit down every day and focus on what it was that I was creating. There were, most people, they get up in the morning, they take a shower, they brush their teeth, they get in their car and they're gone. Oh yeah, they get dressed. They're gone. But whatever they do, it becomes the routine ritual of the morning, and off they go, and suddenly something's gone wrong. Why would that be? It's not that it went wrong, it was a reflection of that either fear or confusion or something of that sort, or just going on autopilot. Just go on autopilot and see what happens. You may not like it. That's been my experience. And all of a sudden, you're in the middle of the day and something happens that you're not happy about, and you're upset, and you're going through your stuff, and you could have averted all that if you had started your day centering yourself, knowing the truth of the presence of the divine, knowing that that's who you were, and saying, this is the day I'm going to have. This is my day right now, so that I can picture at the end of the day what that day is going to have looked like, because I chose it consciously. That's the work. And when you do, you get way further down the road within the direction you want than you do otherwise. And are there other disciplines that would do that? Probably. But I got this one, and it's really working. If I find a better one, I'll let you know. Right now, this is the one that's working. I sit in that cushy chair and close my eyes, and I just create my day. And there's no question in my mind. And I'm treating for members every day. And I'm treating for some colleagues every day. Not many, 6, 8, 10 maybe, a big list is 10. But I'm hearing stories from them that things are working out in their life. Does that make me all powerful? No, of course not. I'm as powerful as everybody else. But that's the power of directed thought. It's so powerful. And most of our thoughts are reactive. Most human thoughts are reacting to what just happened, or what we're afraid is going to happen. Instead, you direct your thoughts by saying, this is what's going to happen. This is how my life is organized. Not down to the so-and-so is going to say so-and-so. Not that level of detail, but that there's joy in my life. That I laughed today. That I accomplished the outcome that I want today. It's done, it's handled, it's in the mail, it's sent off, it's beautiful. The meeting was fantastic. It was a wonderful meeting. I feel it, I see it, and then I go to the meeting and it's that. What a great way to live your life. So that's the point. So, that's the purpose of it. Those are the mechanics of it. Let's give it a try. Who are those that raise their hands so they do this every day? Okay. So, Dan, and let's see, Sandy, and who else over here? Rick, and this is why I hate to do names up front. It's coming. Yes, you will. I'm thinking. Darcy. Okay. All right. Come up front here. I need one more person. Who else wants to talk? Now I can't get anyone to raise their hand. Come on.
Anything in front of the camera.
Okay. Who of you has something you're working on in your life?
Everybody.
Yeah, I know, but who's willing to talk about it? Okay, Sandy, what are you working on?
A wedding.
A wedding. So, so you have things about the wedding that you would like to have happen. All right, you have your ideas about how this is going to be wonderful, right? Okay, great. You have some fear about it too?
Yeah.
Okay, that's human. That's great. That's a good reason to treat, because it is wonderful and it's going to be a delightful experience. So let's see, you're right in the middle there, so let's just play it this way. So all of you are Sandy today. Okay? All of you get to be Sandy. There you go. So Rick, you're going to be doing recognition as Sandy, okay? Darcy, you're going to be doing identification as Sandy. There we go. Okay? And the reason I'm handing you a card with it is so that you don't have to turn around and read the board. You're going to know what needs to be known and realized about this wedding,
Okay.
okay? And in these tenses, in these terms, right? And you are Sandy being grateful, and you are Sandy releasing this, okay?
Let's eat our heart.
So, we're just gonna, this is gonna be a treatment, so we give it respect, and we do that because we're all gonna just close our eyes and be in the space while Sandy in all these different iterations, one by one, does a step of the treatment. So let's just, close our eyes, and Rick, whenever you're ready, begin the treatment.
I know that divine presence is everywhere, is all inclusive, and there is absolutely nothing outside of it. It includes everybody, everything, everywhere.
And as I recognize that God or Spirit or whatever you want to call it is a part in, through, around, as everything, then I know that I too am Spirit. I am God in three-dimensional form. I am expressing God in every way throughout my life. I am perfection. I am happiness. I am wealth. I am everything good, whole, and complete.
And as I know this, I am knowing that this wedding is going to fall into place with ease and grace. How it happens is none of my business. And I'm clear in knowing that. Clear in knowing that it's going to be a wonderful day filled with friends and spiritual family and in-laws, and everything's just going to be amazing. The music is amazing. The process is amazing. The love is truly amazing for that whole entire day.
Thank you for all these wonderful things here in my life right now. I have the most gratitude and joyfulness for these things.
And I release this to the universe, knowing it is already here, and what I believe, I receive, and so it is.
And so it is. Very nice. Any thoughts for these folks before they leave? Is there anything that you want to, don't leave that, don't stay up here just a second, let's just talk about it. Did that work for anybody? Anybody notice anything about that they want to speak to? Yes.
It was just something with Sandy, being Sandy. I was wondering, I mean, because it's a future event, but then you commented earlier that we should speak in terms of it as it's present and is existent now.
Yeah.
Is that, does,
Yeah, even though it's a future event, you see it and experience it now.
and you speak of it as.
And you speak of it as it's happening right now.
Okay.
It's wonderful. It's amazing. You use the word amazing quite a bit. Everything that she talked about was amazing. It's like, you can only know it's amazing when you're in the middle of it.
Right.
You know, it's not about gonna be, it is. And so did she do that that way? Did you experience it, or did she future tense?
Well, I picked up a lot of will be. I picked up a couple of will
Okay,
be's.
yep, and
And I
that's
was
what you want,
wondering
that's good, and we're not making anybody wrong here, this is how we learn. So, yeah, so you wanna avoid the natural tendency to will be. Yeah, and just make it happen now, so that's a really good point.
Okay. Feel it emotionally now. It's
Yeah.
already happening
It's
now.
happening right now. This is it.
Okay.
You know, that's a good coaching there, that's great. Anybody else? Yes?
Yeah, I have a question. Once it's released, I have an altar that I just put things in and I forget about it and go on. Or do you recommend going back on a daily basis and bringing this forward again? I'm just wondering.
That's a really good question.
Is it
Anybody want to take a shot at
really
that? Yes, Kathy, what would you say, being as you did release?
I would say you only need one treatment
Okay.
unless your thoughts bring you out of the truth. And then you do it until it is done.
And some people say that treating today and treating tomorrow is the same treatment. It's a continuation of the same treatment. It's not that it didn't work one day, so you'll do it again. Don't ever think that. Just stay with it, knowing it's so. repetitively, it just reinforces everything. And sometimes you are so absolutely clear, there's just nothing to think about it, you are so knowing this is so, that you can finish with it, release it, and go on, and there's nothing else in your consciousness but that it's so. And if that's the case, maybe you don't need to even speak of it again.
Well, that's helpful, because that's what I do, I just put it away, have a drawer, put it away, and just let it go. But I just wondered, sometimes you read books and stuff that say you need to have it present right in front of your mirror, every day, and I haven't found that to be the case, but maybe I thought, am I missing something?
I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do that.
Okay, I can see that all in it.
What do you want to say, Sandy?
If my ego gets in the way, and sometimes a little voice comes in that's telling me it's not gonna happen, yes, I will treat again, until I am sure that I'm sure that I'm sure.
And no time better than in the moment that you have that thought.
Exactly.
To go, that's not
You
true.
need to do
This
it right
is the
then,
truth.
don't let it stay in there and swim around in your head, because you don't want that.
Darcy.
But to her point, there are some things that I treat for every single day, and they're more qualities of life
Mhm.
than anything else. I'm happy, I'm whole, I'm healthy, I'm prosperous, I'm a divine spirit of creation. Those things I affirm every day whenever I can remember to affirm them. And it's over and over and over and over and over. And they're becoming a lot more believable.
Exactly.
They're
That's kind of the
manifesting
point.
in my life. They're
That's-
manifesting in my life. So
Because you're accepting that that's real for you.
it's very real.
Yeah.
It's very real.
And changing consciousness doesn't always happen like that. Especially when it's been something that's been a struggle in the past, and now you're treating, knowing that it's different, that may take some extra grace.
Well, Barbara did a treatment on me a couple of weeks ago because I fell and hit the back of my head really hard. And 2 days after she treated for me, all the pain, all the swelling, all the heat, everything was gone. There was no soreness there anymore. It was gone. And I just kept affirming that it's healthy, it's whole, it's complete, it's
And it is.
perfect. And it was, and it's just amazing how it works.
What do you want to say?
I was just rereading this the other day, it's, I almost said science now. In Science of Mind.
Holmes.
Holmes said, he said, if you don't believe that you can do this, you need to treat for that too.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I say.
it crops up sometimes, whenever I've done a treatment in the morning, I say, well, where is this, and I recognize that's doubt of what I am treated for in the morning, so I treat for that, and if it happens the next day, I do it again,
Excellent.
so.
Excellent. Kathy.
Being the release person, I would like to release it out and not in a drawer somewhere. That's just my only thing. I want, the universe
I can
is
see it
going
later.
to do it, anybody's gonna do it. Anybody that wants to do it can do it, but it's done. But it's out there. It's not in here, I'm not holding it. I'm sending it out.
Part of universe.
Yeah,
And then there's an expectation that it's already handled.
yeah.
So you are left with a thought as it's handled. And it's not, what I have seen too, at least in my life, is that if I am actively pursuing it, then I am participating in that creation. It's not limited to me and to my ability to create it, but that I'm co-creating it with the universe, which I have declared to be so. So that reflection's coming, and I'm stepping forward, and we meet there, and it happens. Yeah. Excellent. Let's give these guys a hand. Okay, so let's make this easy. I see 4 people at this table and a 5th. You're a team. Let's see, 2, 4, 5 are a team. Let's have Kathy, you with these 3 people, and you with this team here. Then I got 2, 4, 5, you guys right here. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Somehow you guys put together And what you're gonna do is write. What you're gonna do is write, select one of you that will be the focus of the treatment. And let that person do the writing. But I want you guys to co-create a 5-step treatment, okay? So just decide who it is. You go.
She was in the kitchen. Smart.
Darcy, you pick any group you want to be.
Okay.
You'll be the 6th person now.
You'll be the
Yeah.
fifth wheel.
Clear on the assignment?
If you're being.
Yeah, the one that's-
I know.
You gotta agree with everything. Collaborate on how the work is going.
You just don't know the.
It is very personal. It is. Unless you don't, you don't have to. It's just that someone has to. You're gonna be treated for
Maybe one, 2, 3, 4, so we are together. Is that what we're writing? Right?
One takes care of the other.
Each person does a step.
So we don't forget what we're doing later.
Yeah, you have to write it.
Who we are, everyone, well,
Well, so
Yeah.
all right.
I'll do gratitude. I'll do gratitude. You got, yeah, you got to realization.
you should know, yeah, because it's more real time.
Right. Well,
Job card, something about you, what's going on.
Okay, so 1 is done, who's doing 2? 2, okay.
3,
3.
4. I'm doing 4.
That makes sense.
Okay.
This one group, this one, one forward. While they're finishing, how did it go? Did you enjoy the process?
Yes.
Good. You learned something?
Yes.
Good, wonderful. So the way this is going to work is the person that the treatment is about is going to share their treatment with us. And we're going to do this in a prayerful way. So even though Carrie's going to be recording it, and you'll be speaking into a microphone so everyone can hear you without you having to project far into the room, we're going to do this in a prayerful way so that everyone will close their eyes and be with that person as they read their treatment, sharing in that consciousness. Okay? Are we ready to go?
First is always the best.
Yeah, might as well get it over with.
Go first, yeah.
So just first.
It keeps you in the pool, there you go.
It's wonderful. So, what is your name?
Heather.
Heather. So everybody, Heather is going to share her treatment. Yes. Heather is going to share her treatment, and we're all going to join her in a prayerful consciousness as she does this. Okay? Here we go, Jane.
I know all is the divine presence. I know that the divine presence exists in, through, and as all things. As it is in all things, therefore it is within me. I am with the universal mind and divine presence. I can create my life experience with the divine presence. I have perfect wealth, perfect health, and perfect happiness. I am grateful, so grateful for these things, and I release this to the divine presence or the universe, and it comes back to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is.
And so it is.
Yay!
Do Do we all agree?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Heather. Well done. Excellent. Who's going next? You ready? Okay.
There is one divine presence, and this presence is safety, it is freedom, it is adventure, it is the flow of creation. I am this divine presence. I am safe, I am free, I am abundantly prosperous, I am in the flow of creation. And I know this safety, this freedom, this flow of creation is here now. I know that I am prosperous and the bills are paid. I am grateful for this flow, this feeling of safety and connectedness. I release these words into the universe knowing that it is done, and so it is.
So it is. We all agree?
Yes.
Wonderful.
I know divine presence is all there is, everything I see, hear, feel, with deepest part of my being, all there is. I know that God is all there is, and that I and everyone is surrounded and engulfed within the divine. I am part of God, that I am God. My body, health, and back are in perfect condition, strong, healthy, and perfect in everything and everywhere. I am grateful for health, healing, strength, wholeness in my back, muscles, bones, and body working in homeostasis and health and wholeness. I know that my perfect health is here now, and I release it into the universe, and so it is.
And so it is. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
All right. Remember to be grateful.
Reminding us. Just in case.
Okay, here we go.
I know that divine presence is in all things and all people. I know that I am in divine presence, and I am whole, I am healthy, and I am complete. I am in perfect health. My body is strong and healthy, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all this perfection and who I am. And all is well, and so it is.
So it is. We all agree?
Yes.
Yes.
You do great, yeah.
Okay.
I recognize the presence of the divine, everywhere and always, containing all that exists. The divine presence is omnipresent. I am this, for it is true, and it embodies all of my being. I realize that I am dapper and well-groomed and articulate and personable, positive in my thoughts, words, and deeds. I share my expertise and creative abilities to the betterment of those in my presence and beyond. I appreciate the opportunity to share experiences and for the time and consideration, for I know that my good is here now. Thanks for my enrollment in the program and the opportunity to serve others who are actually experiencing pain or having other issues. I release this to allness, to the divine, to all knowing that it is already done, because my word accomplishes all that I desire to have done. And so it is.
And so it is. Do we all agree?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so the task before us is that we have 5 people that just shared their treatments with us. They read them out loud. We heard them. We agree with them. It is the 5 of you that will continue knowing that this week and doing your treatment work around whatever it is. Let it refine, let it develop, let it kind of percolate out, and and come back to class next week and tell us what changed.
Not next week.
Week after next, right, 2 weeks, you got 2 weeks, right? Come back to class and talk about what happened during that time. Everybody else that didn't read the treatment and do that out loud, your task is a little different. I want you to think right now about something wonderful in your life that you really, really like, that you have in your life right now. Can everybody do that?
Yeah.
Anybody struggling with that idea?
No.
Everybody's got something wonderful in their life, right? For the next 2 weeks, every day, I want you to treat that thing. You understand what I'm saying?
But if you already have it.
Yes, you do.
That's ours.
You get it? Because that's the way you treat. Because it's already there. I want you to experience the idea. For example, I am really healthy. I have an ache or pain. My whole body is completely healthy. For the next 2 weeks, I'm treating my health. And I should have no trouble knowing that my treatment is real, because it's already here. That's the way you treat. You don't treat out of need, out of lack. You treat because it's your choice that that's what you have. That make sense? You got this, Kathy?
What if it's a person, people?
Well,
You know,
let it treat that you have loving, wonderful relationships every day. However those relationships are, whether they're family or work or whatever it is, you treat those relationships, and it's already true. That's the point. That's what I want you to get, that every treatment you ever do is like that. It's already true. It's already real. So get used to treating something that you can point to right away. You know, I want to treat for a beautiful green cup. Right? It creates a consciousness that everything that I treat for is as real as that. That's your work for the next 2 weeks. Okay?
Okay.
All right, let's take up our baskets here. If you've got something you're going to give.
Thank you for being our guest.
We will not meet for next Tuesday morning?
No.
Yes. Yes, there will be class on Tuesday morning. That will be talked about tomorrow. Yeah, but Barbara's just doing a Monday night thing, so she should be there. Okay? All right, so whatever it is that you're giving tonight, hold it in your hand. And recognize that there's a blessing in your hand as much as there is in your heart. Know with me that that presence of the divine flows. It moves, it's energetic, it's alive. Just like the money that you give here. The way it's used and put to good value. The way it is secure. Let's all know it's secure. And that all is in perfect working order in this dynamic flow of spirit. And the gifts that come tonight are blessings, they are energy, they are love. Because the presence of the divine is not stagnant, it is alive, it is moving. And this is what's happening right now. So we use this as an opportunity to know the truth of who we are. To live in that truth and in that movement right here, and knowing the blessings abound in our lives. At every turn we are blessed because we know how to bless others. We bless this center by this giving, and we let that be the truth right here and right now, and so it is. Everybody touch the basket? No. Oh, PJ, we got a minute for you. That's fine, that's fine.
I'm not singing the song.
What's the next reading?
Yeah, I figured that's where we started.
39. The last section is.
So I know this money is blessed. I know the lives of those who give to this center are blessed. We continue this lovely flow in everything that we do. We leave this place now, move off into other parts of our lives, many of us home to go to sleep. And we know that there's a sense of safety and wholeness. There's a sense of growth and dynamic consciousness that expands and expands. We are on that road of awakening. And it's a wonderful road to be on. We're on it together. What a delight. Thank you, God, for showing up as us. And let that be the truth right here, right now, and forevermore. And so, thank you, everybody. That was fun.
Thank you, John.